Hey guys, this week I'm gonna be turning this giant Battleshell Leo into Foot Leo. First thing I'm gonna do is take off his head. Now I'm gonna need somewhere to put his head. It's a old business card with a piece of foam glued down to it with super glue, and then a wood skewer and another piece of foam that fits into the head. Let's try this. Now the head has a place to live. What I have to do is sand a lot of his face off and his knee pads and pads, because the comic book version, he has a skinny head and smaller eyes and a smaller mouth. So I'm using my cordless Dremel, but now I'm just going to shave down his head so it's more of a oval than a oval and a circle put together. Alright. So I've gotten a few requests to do Foot Leo, and I've wanted to for a long time, but often people give me great ideas and I don't have the right figure, or I don't have the time. Yeah, the plastic is going everywhere. If you do this yourself, I would recommend wearing a mask and some goggles. I'm gonna mix together a bunch of this green stuff, and I start in the eyes, just filling them in because he's got a more squinty, smaller eyes and a bigger forehead. Then I add a bit to the bandana because he has got a bigger bandana. So I sanded down the feet more because I want them to be skinnier, and I'm also sanding the flaps of his bandana because I want them to be a little thinner, and also I'm adding texture that'll look a little more like fabric. I'm adding the same kind of frayed texture to the part of the bandana that's on his face. I have a tongue depressor that I cut into little pieces, and I'm gluing that with super glue to build out his toes before I put the green stuff on. Now that I have my green stuff mixed together, I'm starting with the mask. I want it to be a little bigger on the bottom now. I already added to the top. Then I add some more like stringy parts to the part of his bandana that I took off. And now it's time to make the toes. So I wrap it around the wood that I put on the toe area. And I'm not trying to get this perfect because I'm going to build it up later with Milliput, and then I can sculpt details into that. But of course, the second foot, the toes came much better because I figured out what I was doing from the first one. Maybe, and I had a little extra to work with on the second one. Now I'm gonna start with the accessories. First, I'm gonna do some smoke bombs. I have a bunch of little styrofoam balls that I got at the dollar store. I just took the two biggest ones I could find. I have a little bit of this craft wire here, and I'm gonna cut some pieces, but before I cut it, I'll stick it in a little piece of scrap foam so that I can find it when it flies across the room. Oh, it didn't fly across the room at all. Let's see what happens this time. Oh, it just stayed in my little mini bolt cutters is what I used for that. Bend this into a bit of a loop, get a little bit of glue on them, and then just stick them into the styrofoam. Alright, so those are our bases for our smoke bombs. Now, quickly show the bags and how I made them. So it just flaps like this, fold it over and up and down, and you have a bag. So I saved one, the bigger one. It might be too big. First I have, it's just a little short dowel, and I sanded where I'm going to put a wrap later. This is skinny sticks. They're just craft wood sticks that I got from the craft section of a store somewhere. And I use my Dremel to sand it down so we have an edge, and then put a wrap around that. I'm going to do one on camera, and then this is for coming out of his thing on his hand. It has two blades, and this is a bamboo stir stick, and I sanded that with the Dremel. and I'm gonna cut it off. So for this short sword, I drill 3 small holes, and just for details, I'm gonna paint silver inside and the rest will be black. Now I'm using my Dremel to sand down until I get a nice sword blade. When it's all sanded up with the Dremel, I can just clean it up, any little burrs or places that might give me a splinter. Not the type of splinter that I would like, maybe a cartoon NECA splinter, that would be dope, but not on my finger, that would hurt. And now I mixed together some Milliput, and I'm gonna start to sculpt his face more. And I like the green stuff for working on small things, but it's pain to mix a lot. This stuff is easier to mix and it remains malleable longer, but it dries faster. Just wanna fill in between the bump on his head and then the rest of his head. But the Milliput, you can stretch it a lot thinner. I'm trying to push down as much as I can with my hand before I move to the tools. Then I can smooth it out more. And with a little bit of water on the tool, it'll smooth a lot easier and smoother. It also prevents it from sticking to the tool. Trying to give him a little less of a cone head now. I added to this thing I made earlier because it wasn't really doing anything to hold him. So I'm really close to 1,000 subscribers now as I film this. I want to thank everyone who's been here along the way, or also anyone who's just joining now. And if you have been with me, it's probably a weird time to change the format, but just want to see how this is or how it comes out. Need a little more, and it sticks to itself a lot better when it's a little wet. A little more forehead and a little more back of the head. But filming like this, there's a lot more time where I have to come up with things to say, I suppose. So the foot Leo I'm creating is based on the IDW comics, where Shredder convinces Leo to join the Foot Clan, and so he joins for a little while, and then stuff happens. And when I got this Battle Shell Leo, I thought a foot tall turtle is the perfect turtle to make into a foot turtle. Makes sense. So I'm gonna add a little to each side and then I'll squish it and blend it together. So this is just like a clay carving tool. Alright, that looks pretty good. Anything else I can fix with sanding or spackling later. I had recently steamed this guy so that I could take his belt off, and it's just easier when it's soft and warm. I'm gonna give him like a shirt and some armor. So I painted up this arm, sword, blade thing. Came a little different than I planned, but I left some of that terracotta color in there because I like the color. I finished up gluing everything. He's got the sword, grenades on the side there, or smoke bombs on the side there. I added some stuff to his back, a couple ninja stars, and a couple little bags with shoulder pads. And so that's all for this guy. Next week I'm going to be doing Karai from the IDW series, and until then, remember, always keep your head up. Peace.